Hi guys, Alex here with Inside. I'm with my colleague Omar here, who's been in Dubai for decades. He was born here. He's been in real estate for a while, and so we decided to continue our series of educational videos where we can have an honest discussion. And today we're going to tell you the 5 key areas to invest in the UAE in 2025, where you can potentially double your money or have the highest likelihood. And we'll cover the nuances that maybe sometimes I don't get to in my individual project descriptions so that you guys can have a better perspective on the real estate market in the UAE.
So I'm born here, just like you said, and sometimes when you're in a place for a long time, you forget, or you seem to forget actually how grateful you are for living in UAE in general. So I'm always curious about finding out why people are moving to Dubai, and recently it's been a huge hype around that. So I just wanted to know why did you move from the US? Or you've been to so many places around the world. Why Dubai?
Yeah, that's a good question, and I was reflecting on that. That when we live in a place, we kind of start to take it for granted. Like when I lived in California, I was doing investments at Apple, and I remember the temperature was the same every single day. And at some point, you're like, sunlight, okay, great. And I find a similar thing in Dubai, where because the safety here is unparalleled, and even though I've lived in Switzerland, I feel like Dubai is a safer place for families. I think the climate most of the time of the year it's great. You have sunshine almost every single day. You have fantastic opportunities for wealth appreciation, for living a quality of life that's almost unparalleled. And I also love the visionary leadership of this country and what the government is doing, how progressive they are, and how they're running everything like a super well-funded startup. They have a strategic plan, a master plan that they actually execute to. The politics are consistent. There's no change of vector like in the States or in other countries every 2 to 4 years. And I feel like people here don't focus on the politics, and they focus on just living their life, which resonates strongly for my values. And that's from a Dubai standpoint. That's why I love connecting people to Dubai, to the UAE, to help them find a place here, as well as from a real estate standpoint, it's a number of things, right? You have one is I like promoting Dubai and the UAE as a country. I like also connecting people to their homes because it's at the end of the day, everything comes down to family. And so you have either people who are moving here, they want a better place for their children, for their family, and people who want to make money. I work a lot with investors. Some of them have been investing in Dubai for 20 years. And for everyone, the reason they want to make money is to provide better opportunities for their kids and for their families, for future generations. And it's never just because I want to make more money, or at least I don't deal with those people. So there's always a reason for what the money allows us. And I think the wealth you can make in Dubai, especially in real estate, is unparalleled in the world. The risks are minimized economically and politically and culturally. And so I think it's kind of a unique intersection of a number of things where people can improve their relationships with themselves and their families through investing. And that's kind of my mission for why I do it. Does that make sense?
Makes total sense, actually. Sometimes I need to remind myself, maybe, or that's a super justifiable answer, to be honest. So that was a bit of a background on why you moved to Dubai. I would say that 99.5% of the people I've asked this question actually answered within those same scope of answers. Safe, no taxes, wealth could be created super quick within a short time period. So I wanted to speak about, I wanted to know your opinion, because you've been doing a lot of, I would say you were in venture capital, so you do have, obviously you do analysis on a lot of data on the next new investments and so on, and also there's intuition into it. So now that real estate is a different sector of it, I would say it's still investment. Where are the main areas to focus on in UAE that you think that could double up your money in a short time period? Because we've seen it over the years. We've seen several projects
We know it's
around
possible.
Dubai. It's super possible in Dubai, and that's why a lot of international investors have been coming through with funds through Dubai, because they've seen already through data how properties appreciated super quick within a short time, whether it's 5 to 6 year period. So where do you think, Mr. Alex, is the best areas to invest in all of UAE, first of all? And obviously the main city is Dubai, but there are a lot of hidden gems outside of Dubai that you can make a lot in capital appreciation as well. I wanted you to speak on that. So where are the areas?
Yep. So I have 5 key areas that I'll address today. And sometimes, a few common things that I notice across the board is sometimes people are coming in, they're saying, oh, I want to buy, Emirate or Damak, or they see an advertisement somewhere. And, I have to remind people that, good guys, everybody's great at drawing renders. Does not mean it's a good investment. A good investment is like buying something doesn't mean you make money. Actually selling it at a profit does. And, sometimes those brand names don't correlate to quality. There's always nuances, but kind of the example I like to give people is Harvard and Rolls-Royce don't advertise. And so good projects usually are ones you're probably not going to even hear about, or they're already sold out by the time you hear about them.
That's very true.
And in Dubai, yes, the hype is there, but it's important to work with someone who sees beyond the hype and can see the strategic potential for something. And some of the areas we're going to talk about, yes, at this point, they're more or less world known. But still, I just want to remind people that it's not just about, a brand. It's about a number of things like location, quality of the developer, the limitation of supply in that particular area, the timeline for its development, and even in a single floor, the difference between a unit that has a particular view and one that doesn't can be the difference in liquidity in selling something in an hour or selling something in 6 months. And that's, these are important things that investors need to realize. And I think it won't be a surprise to anyone that my first location that I recommend is RAK or Ras Al Khaimah. Those of you who've been following along know this. Why? Well, look, for the next 2 to 4 years, I believe it's the fastest appreciation trajectory of anywhere in the UAE. Because largely it's driven by the casino, and I'll give you a few rundown of the numbers. And something else that you mentioned that I want to touch upon is people need to remember that in most areas of the world, people are used to investing in real estate as a way to make passive income, as a way to rent something out and you make some money off of it. And so in Dubai, yes, you can make like 8-10% from that, and that's great. But keep in mind that capital appreciation will always be higher. You can make 2 to 3 times more on capital appreciation and then reselling the property than you can on passive income. And that's a uniqueness also in Dubai because it's so fast growing. There's a lot of projects being constructed, and it's possible to invest in something at an early stage, resell it prior to the handover payment, and then reinvest that money. And you can actually make a lot more money this way, and it's just a different perspective. Yeah, and you've probably seen this evolve as you've been here for.
Yeah, I mean, it all depends on the objective of the client, basically, or of the investor. If they're building a portfolio that for the generations to come, having wealth for his future generations or future family generations, and some of them would like their money now, or not now. I mean, in their lifetime, basically, whether they wanna resell in 3 years, get their profit margin, exit, go through another investment, and so on. But the uniqueness, like you mentioned, yes, in Dubai especially, is that it's super fast growing. There is a lot. It also has the leverage of launching a lot of projects, and you buy it off plan during construction. That's not so normal around in the US. They don't.
It's mainly secondary markets in other parts of the world.
And because also US is very well established. It's a 400-year-old country, but Dubai is like 55-year-old, around 55-year-old country. So, and they didn't start building since 55 years. They started over the last 20-25 years. So a lot of people have been moving in. The growth of the population have been massive over the last 10 years, and still growing. And they have future plans, obviously, up until 2040 to grow it by double. So all of them need homes. All of them need to buy real estate, basically. And that's when the investor makes his money, sell it to an end user, most probably for the highest price or whatever the case is. So since you mentioned Ras Al Khaimah, and by the way, I mean, this whole this was over the last year and a half, I would say, or 2 years, that Ras Al Khaimah started
become world known. Yeah,
world known. Like everyone, I remember of the last year, I've gotten so many people. What's going on, Ras Al Khaimah? What's going on, Ras Al Khaimah? What's this casino? Because it's new in the Middle East area, by the way. I wouldn't say Middle East. I would say GCC area. So it is new to this area. Already, real estate has been playing a part in the country. So might as well invest in the real estate beside that casino, which will bring in a lot of people. So could you talk to us more about what's in Ras Al Khaimah, or what are the best projects to invest in Ras Al Khaimah?
Look, yeah, the key here is Iraq is about 45 minutes north of Dubai International Airport. You have the casino from the Win launching here on Al Marjan Island in 2027, and which is just 2 years from now. And you have a few surrounding areas like Al Hamra Village, Mina Al Arab, and Sini Island over here. But in reality, my recommendation will always be in waterfront properties, sea view, ideally with a beach, ideally branded, and with a good payment plan that allows for leverage. And so that's why usually I don't recommend projects that have like an 80-20 or 70-30 payment plan, simply because it's the difference between that and a 50-50 plan is 20% to your return. And so especially for investors, that's a big number. And so generally we're looking for 50-50 or better payment plans where we can leverage that when it comes time to resell. And in RAC, I'll just give you a few highlights that on Marjan, it's supposed to be 27,000 units at completion between hotels and residences. And you have 300,000 to 400,000 people per month coming to the island. And so you have 10 times more demand than there is supply, which is the reasoning for the investment thesis here. And the prices, you have to compare apples to apples. So you have to compare Iraq to Palm Jumeirah, to Mar beachfront, to waterfront locations. And the price per square foot here is between 2,000 and 3,000 dirham per square foot right now, which in Dubai, generally in like Palm and in those areas, you're going to be looking at like 4,500 to 11,000, depending on the level of luxury of the project. So the potential is there. And that's why most of the time when we're dealing with investors, we're looking in RAC specifically. Top projects here are generally Nikki Beach and Ras Al Bay because of, it's being built by Aldar, who's the government of Abu Dhabi. There's a number of Ellington projects that I've mentioned in prior videos. And the landscape is always shifting. So it's always a question of a point in time. And I also, recommend only buying things that are on the water, because they're starting to build some projects here in the center of this island, which are about 800 meters away from the water, which questionable from a user experience, because if you play it out, who's going to be buying it from us on resale? It's one of two types of people. It's either an end user or an investor. The end user is going to be fewer of those here because mainly it's a resort destination, but investors are going to be looking for the same things. They're going to be looking to rent it out, and they're looking for further appreciation. And so seafront units, sea-facing units are always going to outperform. They're going to have better rental income and it will be easier to resell. So that would be, my thesis is anyone investing in RAC will easily double their money in the next 2 to 4 years. So that's location number one.
I mean, it takes 2 points. I see that casino, waterfront, like that's a winner blindly already.
It's a no-brainer.
Yeah, it's a no-brainer to be honest. And yes, there will be a limited supply, like compared to the demand for it, and by 2027. But I would still pick out certain projects in that island. Not all of them, like you mentioned. There would be a few, obviously, but. Now that's a short brief on Ras Al Khaimah. I wanted to move over. Let's say, do you want to move over to Dubai or Abu Dhabi first? Because Dubai, there's
you never know. I might say, let's say, invest in Ajman or Mal Wayne.
You never know.
Here it's popping.
I mean, recently there has been activity going on in Quwain because of the proximity to Ras Al Khaimah. I mean, Shoba has already started out, and actually there is another developer called DR that is going to enter Quwain market and develop more, just because of that casino factor, because it's like 15 minutes, 20 minutes drive to the casino.
But that's an important thing, right? So if you think through the psychology of a person coming here, think for yourself. If you're coming to visit a location, I personally could not be bothered to spend 20 minutes in a taxi one way every single day to go there. So it's either Al Marjan or not. That's
might as well be in that same location.
Like, you want to be as close as possible to the casino. Will the other ones appreciate? Yes, but not by as much. And the risk factor is there that they're just going to stick to Marjan or choose a different location.
You'd be gambling at this point, yeah? So I might...
Pun intended.
No pun intended, it's very true. So how about this? How about we start moving over and speaking about Dubai? Because, sorry, about Abu Dhabi actually, before we get into the big one, Dubai. But Abu Dhabi has been super active over the last 4 to 5 years, and Aldar plays a major role in that because I think they control 85% of the land parcels in Abu Dhabi, or they occupy or own 85% of the land.
It helps when you're the government.
I mean, it makes sense that the government, yeah, so you can't say anything about that.
Yep.
So what would be the nice areas or amazing areas for huge potential of capital appreciation in Abu Dhabi? What would you pick out?
Yep. let's do it. And by the way, I'll mention a little bonus for RAC is I've heard from multiple sources that there is a Disneyland coming, a Disney themed resort to the mountains.
The first time I'm hearing this, by the way.
And this is some of it from people who have sources in Disney. This is also from developers and from developers who are planning to launch projects in the mountain area that I know they otherwise would not. So take it for what you will, but they also have a master plan for this entire area for the next 10 to 15 years. So RAC is going to become more than just the casino. It's going to be an entire, a place that stands on its own.
I feel like it will be an entertainment emirate, basically.
That's what I feel as well. Yeah. Entertainment, Abu Dhabi's cultural, and Dubai's business.
Yeah.
That's my sense. And to those who ask, what about other casinos coming? First of all, the Wynn has exclusivity until 2030. Then if there is something else that comes, it's likely to be in Dubai. And I think RAC will still stand on its own, and it will just be additional tourism rather than drawing people away. So let's shift over to Abu Dhabi. And even though there is a number of places, my focus for investment and recommendation will always be Saadiyat. Why? Because similar thesis as RAC, you have a contained area, you have a limited number of spots, and you have a time frame for when all the major drivers are launching. So where we have about 2 years from now for the casino, here over the next couple of years, the museums are going to be open and complete. And so we have the cultural district here. We have Nobu that launched on the beach, Mandarin Oriental residences, and now there's going to be Cartier residences. Still not finally confirmed, but it will also be here. Let's say it shows that there's a trend of branded luxury residences, which there is a limitation of here in Saadiyat. You have Saadiyat Lagoons over here on the right. There's a number of projects that have launched, but in general, I would say focusing on the cultural district. The difference here is it's a higher entry point from my perspective at this point, where the best units are generally going to be 2, 3+ bedrooms, because it is, in addition to a tourism destination, it's also a place for families to live. And so here, let's say, like the entry point is around 12 to 15 million dirham. Whereas in RAC, for a similar, 2, 3 bedroom apartment, it's between like 3 and 5. And so RAC is where Saadiyat maybe was 3 years ago in terms of pricing, I think, and in terms of development. And so take that for what you will. Abu Dhabi is a more conservative investment from my standpoint, because we know it's going to be complete. We know the quality of the developer. We know the master plan. And so it's a question of where is that alpha? Where is the missing piece that's underpriced? And from my perspective, that's generally branded residences and like 3-bedroom units. So there are some target projects here that we can look at, and once again, very specific views. There is a completed line here for Mamsha, and you can see the prices for what that's at, and compare that to the prices for
I remember
projects.
when these were launched long time ago. At that time I wasn't in real estate, but I've heard of this Mamsha and this new hype in Saadiyat Island. And recently, over the last couple of weeks, I've looked at the prices now, and they've doubled to what I remember the prices were. So it's unbelievable what they're doing in Saadiyat. Even this culture district, especially with the 5 museums they have around in that part of the island. Tell us about since you mentioned about this branded residence thing, there would be, I have my own opinion on branded residences. I love a hospitality brand type of branded residences, but there would be like few weird ones that weren't into residences before, or any residential projects before, like Cartier, for example. But I feel like at this point, it's an ego purchase. Some people would consider it, the high net worth individuals, especially if you were to invest in something like this and sell it when it's handed over. At this point, it's an ego purchase, and when it's an ego purchase, people are willing to pay the price. That's why I find this branded residence super unique.
I would say maybe ego is not the word that I would use. I would say it's discernment. That would be the word. And
Right.
why do people shop in luxury brands? They want to, yes, uniqueness is part of it. They want a particular level of service that they associate with that brand.
Yeah.
And that's where I think if you look at the number of high net worth individuals moving to the UAE every year, and I have many clients who are, liquidating their portfolios in the UK and in the US because of tax reasons, and we're creating them for them here in the UAE. You have a limited supply of high-end luxury buildings, and you have a lot of demand that outmatches that supply. And so you have, in general, I like this segment because it's more recession-proof. because people who are buying these residences,
They never go broke, maybe.
they generally, it's not their first, second, or third property.
Yeah.
And from a investment standpoint, like a penthouse is a different investment than a 2 or 3 bedroom in a place like that. I would still like both have their place, both have their level of uniqueness. Liquidity will be a little bit different. And so there is a case to be made for any of them simply because of limited supply and a lot of demand. And so, for instance, like Nobu 2 bedrooms were about 15 million. Mandarin Oriental residences were about like 12 to 15 million plus for 2 bedrooms. These new Cartier residences are going to be about 10 million for a 1 bedroom.
Oh.
And so the prices will increase, and Abu Dhabi is now following a similar theme to what Dubai has been following, with a growing number of residences. And I would say a brand is not a brand, meaning there's segmentation within the market. So Frank Mueller or Bugatti or Aston Martin or Cartier, very different levels of brand.
Exactly, because that's what I mentioned. I mean, they're not a hospitality brand. They're very well known brands. However, they've never been in residential projects. That's why you see. I think Cartier will be the first residential project by Cartier ever in the world. I think so. I mean, even Bugatti in Dubai is also the first.
I think it might be. However, I would still segment there, because when developers partner with like a car brand, it kind of carries a different frequency to me, because it's not design. Like, yes, there's aspects of design, but it's more in performance. If you talk about Cartier or Hermès or Louis Vuitton,
it's a statement.
There's a certain level of design aesthetic that I understand.
Yeah.
And for me, I can associate that with architecture. A car brand, no.
Yeah.
Like, it's different.
A bit far off, yeah.
Yeah. So I still think it will do well, but at a high level, like, that's the thesis, I think, for Saadiyat. Let's shift over to Dubai. Yeah, let's shift over to Dubai. I think maybe some of you have heard of this place. It's the reason we're here. And look, so in Dubai, as you can expect, I'm going to be focusing on the waterfront areas. The main ones are Maritime City, Dubai Islands, and Jebel Ali. Let's start with the easiest one first. Jebel Ali, I think it's a good investment, but the holding period will be 5 to 10 years. Because the resale appreciation happens when the entire area is complete. And in general, it's going to take about 10 years to build everything out here. I think if I had to guess, a future casino might be on Palm Jebel Ali, if it had to pick a location, so you can kind of hedge that. But it would not make it your primary investment. Maybe, if we have a portfolio of 5 to 10 properties, maybe one of them I would get here in Palm Jebel Ali. The other ones are going to be shorter. Yeah?
Yeah.
And that's all there is to be said there. It's driven by Al Maktoum becoming the main airport in 10 years. So this entire area under Palm Jebel Ali will be developed. It's just a question of time.
Yeah.
But if we're talking about the next 2 to 5 year time frame, let's say there's better options. And here we come to Dubai Islands and Maritime City. And I mentioned before, so I covered Ellington's project here on Dubai Islands, and I'll say a similar thing that I said for Palm Jebel Ali. I think it's probably a 3, 5, 7 plus year investment, where the entire area needs to be complete prior, to justify the increase in pricing. And right now, these 3 islands have not even been touched.
Yeah.
So you have Island A, which is kind of like JVC on the water, with 15 different developers building, and
more than 15 actually.
Probably, yeah. Some of them I've never even heard of.
Yeah.
And you have Ellington here, and you have Rixis over here, which is, I think, having beach location is great. And then I wouldn't probably look at things here in the middle, because what's the point, as you're not on the water. Nahil is building out here, and also there is a developer building out across this entire private beach. And I would say Ellington and other beachfront properties will do well. Just the holding period may be a little bit longer than.
I feel like because it's a bigger land area, so for it to be a bit mature or developed, it will take some time. But already the surrounding areas, the infrastructure is already there. That's why I feel like investing in that area, Dubai Islands, Maritime City, or Rashidiyat or Marina, in that area, the capital appreciation will be seen much more quicker than in Palm Jebel Ali area. Not to say that Palm Jebel Ali won't appreciate, it will appreciate by a lot, like you've seen what's going on in Palm Jumeirah. But what about Maritime City? Because I feel like it's a super unique island. There's a lot of history in that island as well, from the cruise terminals and so on. Tell us what's going on right now in Maritime City.
Yep, and this would actually be my number 2 pick in terms of portfolio, like additional properties in terms of fast appreciation. And so here we have Omar building Port Rashid area. And in general, at this point, those who've been watching know I usually don't sell Omar because 80-20 payment plans are nonsense.
Very tough.
Nonsense for an investor when there are better options available. And I think the communities are fantastic. The quality of the buildings, I personally have lived in them. I think they're okay. And I think there's slightly better options. Plus, they're mainly building inland at this point. And so it's going to be challenging to get a waterfront unit, which I think is it impacts liquidity and resale significantly. So I don't recommend things that don't have an open view. So if we shift over here, we've had a number of launches from Demak, from Dayar, from like a number of people here. However, now what's interesting development is Omniat is now the master developer for the island.
Yeah.
Omniat is historically known for luxury Dorchester residences where it's 20 to 30 million dirham starting price for a 2-bedroom unit. So some of the highest end units. And they started a daughter company called Beyond to play in this like premium / like entry luxury segment where they're now modifying this entire island. So the industrial operations mainly moving to Palm Jebel Ali or the Jebel Ali
area.
Yeah. They're planting 30,000 trees here to make it green. And you have a beach now here on the end. And you have an entire master plan that Beyond is going to be launching over the coming year and a half. That's what, so their last project was Orize. The new projects are going to be launching about every month and a half. And so here you have a unique situation that the entire area is meant to be complete by 2030. So we have a limited time frame. You have things that are on the water. You have a beach. You have a luxury residence from Omniat coming here on the tip as well with the Dorchester residence. So that will increase the pricing. And so, and their payment plans are 50-50, which to me is kind of the entry point for flipping. And that's the reason I like this area a lot. And I would say comparatively to RAC, the main difference is you will have end users buying here. In RAC, you probably will not. And so you have a wider pool of audience here. So if you want to maybe hedge your risk a little bit and you want to feel safer, then this will be a good investment compared to RAC. So I would say that's the main, I think that sums up kind of the 5 areas. How does that feel for you?
I mean, it sounds good. I'm very optimistic about Maritime City, especially Beyond, which is anyway by Omniat. Why it's significant, I wanted to add as well, because it's the first community by Omniat. If you think about it, all of the projects were like single out projects in hot areas, obviously, and super luxurious. But it's the first from Omniat to have a proper community to its own, and waterfront. So that's wow, to be honest. So that's even another winner blindly as well, by the way, if you think about this. An amazing developer, amazing product,
master plan,
and a master plan,
beach,
and waterfront.
and
imagine, and you have the Dorchester. The Dorchester will be beside you. So anything that is commercially or residentially that is super high end will have an effect on the surrounding area or surrounding buildings as well, or towers. So you don't want to cover up the La Mer side. Don't you think that's part of that beachfront circle radius area?
Agreed. And I like the Solaya, which I mentioned before, which I think is
super high end.
Like starting price around 18-20 million at this point. And yes, I like it a lot as well. As you notice, also beachfront, private, small, small. I like it. And that's a separate segment, right, of the market where you have luxury branded, or as close to possible as branded residences, which can be between 5,000 and 8,000 per square foot, and they can go to 10 to 15 because, for instance, there is units that are 20,000 plus per square foot in Dubai. And so I do like that one. I also like a Sola Bay, maybe a little bit different strategy because it's more capital preservation rather than let me double or triple my money. It's for people. Why do people invest in real estate in general? First of all, it can't go to zero, unlike crypto or stocks. And so you have a way to preserve your capital, and by investing smart, you can do that, with appreciation. And so some of my clients are families who are thinking 5, 10, 20 plus years ahead, and they're saying, I don't need appreciation. I'm not planning to resell it in 2-3 years. I do want it to grow, and I do want it to be stable and as much recession proof as possible. And so that high end market is still relatively new in Dubai,
Yes.
where you have villas for 350 million.
Ridiculous, to be honest.
But it's all relative, right?
Yeah.
So the price per square foot, for instance, is a lot cheaper than in Marsa Al Arab, where it's 20,000 per square foot.
Yeah.
And here you have around 8 in a Sola Bay. So I think there's, if I were to sum up in general, it's waterfront locations, ideally with a beach, quality developer, the right unit, the right payment plan. That will be the best confluence of factors. And I do want to mention that sometimes people say, well, why don't I buy a villa somewhere out here in the desert? Look, will it appreciate? Probably, depending on the developer. Will it be complete on time? Depending on the developer, really. And at the same time, it's a higher risk in terms of appreciation, because usually there's no cap on supply there. So where they can build one master community, they can build 5 master
There's
communities.
a lot of land still around.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you never know how long it's going to take to build all the grocery stores and supermarkets and everything there, which is what drives the resale value. And so in smaller locations where the area is capped, the supply is limited, it's just different. So that appreciation will happen faster. So over the next 2 to 4 years, rack number 1, I would say Mer and Maritime City are number 2. Dubai Islands, I would say
Certain
Saadiyat
projects,
probably number also 2 to 4 years. And then Dubai Islands and Palm Jebel Ali. I think they're always going to perform better than anything inland. And, data shows that as well.
So over the last couple of years, Alex, what are the types of clients that you've been working with? Obviously, you've been consulting them on certain projects, and most of them were the ones that we talked about right now. But what are the type of clients that you've been working with and want to work with also in the future for later reference as well?
Yep. And so generally my clients find me through YouTube, right? Because they sense that my biggest value proposition to them is I actually care that they make money. And that's always number 1 rather than I make money.
Yeah.
And so I think that already most people in Dubai, I've noticed, will sell anything and everything.
Yes. Oh my God.
And
they're super incentivized. So what can you do?
When the person's incentive is money, you can sense that. My incentive is relationships, because I want to start businesses and build my own hotels down the line with my clients. And so it's bigger than just a single deal. So number 1 quality is my clients value long-term relationships. They generally are confident, successful, loyal. They communicate openly. Generally, they're open to being educated and expanding their perspective. Because if they're stuck on something, even though it's against my recommendations, probably we're not going to get along super well, because they want what they want and they don't want to listen to reason. I'm here to tell people what they need to hear rather than what they want to hear. And so sometimes that's triggering for people.
Yeah,
I'm okay with that.
Yeah. I would like to add to that. I feel like there would be some people that would, I wouldn't say not appreciate the real estate agents or property consultants, like how people will go to a doctor. They need to listen out to the doctor because he's the expert or she's the expert. When people buy real estate anywhere in the world, they want to see, especially investing, because now you are putting a lot of money for it to, whatever the reason is, capital appreciation, you want to keep it for the portfolio, for ROI and so on. They need to listen to property consultants' advice, because they've been in the market for a while. They have already done their data analysis. They know what is a winner, what is not a winner. And that's why, as much as a lot of people have made a lot of money in such a short time in Dubai, there is a lot of money that there is a lot of clients as well that lost a lot of money. And then they say that Dubai real estate is just a hype and blah blah blah, when that's not the case, and you should have been listening to the right property consultants. Hence, that's what we're trying to explain over here.
And generally, those are the people who bought units from people who just sold them anything, from developers that I would never recommend, and they just they worked with the wrong person, unfortunately, most of the time, or they thought they could do it themselves. They went to the developer. And look, a developer is not in the business of you making money.
They're in the business of selling you their product.
That's right. And you have to understand that. And so generally, I work with people who value relationships, are humble, and
without a biased opinion as well, because if you just mentioned when someone goes to the developer directly, he wouldn't give you an opinion on the like other developers or developments and
or
so on.
something across the road is cheaper or better.
Exactly, they'll tell you that our product is the best product in the market, and you can never take advice from someone who's biased.
I've even seen developers offer something as a sea view when I know that there is a building,
exactly,
but they literally say, "Well, it's looking in the direction of the sea," and I'm like,
and then there's Future Plus right in front of it. You don't know who owns it, and they don't tell you anything about it and so on. So there's a lot of research that needs to be
basically
done.
bottom line, work with someone who actually puts your interests first. That's one, and two is work with someone who can, I would rather talk you out of investing than you invest in something that we can't resell, because there's brokers, and then there's people who, like myself, who work as portfolio managers, where I'm the one that's going to be doing the resales for you. So I know what I'm talking about when I'm recommending specific units, whether it's resale, it's I see people go in and out of this market like every 6 months.
My God. It's the highest turnover industry, by the way, in here in
so
Dubai.
Most brokers who sell you something are not going to be in the market in 6 months from now.
Exactly.
And that's
you need to be around a property or like a portfolio manager or a property consultant that lives and breathes real estate basically, and also has a longevity that will be working in this industry for a long time here in Dubai. And obviously clients would sense that. I mean, when speaking to anyone, you'd realize if he's really making sense or no. So it's also based on intuition.
Yep, intuition. And usually people I work with, they're successful because they already trust their intuition to
exactly.
a degree. And so
previous experiences, they would know as well.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, some people get fooled, but
and some people need to go through this bad experience of buying something that they can't resell, that they have to sell at a discount or at original price, to then recognize the value of actually working with a professional, and why you don't bargain and try to save like 20,000-30,000 to here and there. I'm like, guys, you're buying it like a $10 million property. Why do you care? Like, let's focus on making money rather than trying to negotiate every little possible thing. Like, that's my job, is to negotiate for you. So let's say that's the general profile. If this resonates for you guys, and hopefully this has been helpful to expand your perspective and to understand the nuances of the real estate market here. At the end of the day, it's always an individual discussion based on your own liquidity, your own goals, your own vision, whether it's for living or for investing here, which I'm happy to work with you on that. And if this resonates, just you can reach out and we'll connect and see how we can make it happen for you. Omar, thank you for your questions, for sharing your perspective, and for being here as well.
I hope this is a nice guide to people who are still new or want to enter the Dubai real estate market. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I think this is the end of it. See you in the next one.
Yep. Name is Alex. We'll see you next time.
Bye bye.